Guys, I don't know if you heard about this new Selena series on Netflix. Playing Selena was kind of a landmark moment in my career, and I was so excited when I saw the trailer and heard about it. It's a great way for this generation to get to know Selena. I love Selena. She's a big part of my life and my career, and I can't wait to see it. It's on Netflix.
The newly recent Netflix show titled Selena the Series has renowned interest in the Taken Too Soon singer. But if you're new to the world and music of Selena, I'll be making my case on why you shouldn't skip the 1997 film starring Jennifer Lopez. One of the most visible Latinas in the 90s was Selena Quintanilla Perez. Her popularity and eventual posthumous iconization enabled the visibility of other Latinas throughout the decade and set into motion the Latin music boom that exploded after her rise to fame. Shakira, Christina Aguilera, Jennifer Lopez, Thalía, Paulina Rubio, Julieta Venegas, just to name a few of the artists who came after her. Selena was kind of a pioneer for Latin women to pursue a singing career in English and Spanish. In Remembering Selena, Remembering Latinidad, Deborah Paredes writes, Selena's popularity gained tremendous momentum after she was murdered at the age of 23 by the former president of her fan club in 1995. Following her death, a staggering number of memorial tributes, public performances of grief, and a proliferation of Selena's impersonations were enacted in her honor. Scholars comment that Selena's death provoked an act of mourning. There was an explosion and perhaps exploitation of Selena's image, among the many things, and led to the well-known film Selena with J-Lo and Edward James Olmos.
At the time, it was imperative that they make this film.
There was a tremendous amount of gossip and news and all kinds of hurtful and crazy things that were coming in the press.
8 books that had been written on her in those 15 months. 3 documentaries and 2 major motion pictures were already in production. And they were doing it all without the permission of the family.
The family was in grief, and yet this was their business. This is how they made a living.
And what we didn't want to happen was to have a misrepresentation of a great artist like Selena and a family member and a family and a culture. And so it kind of forced the family to have to make a hard decision, which was making the movie.
He wanted to make a movie that would immortalize his daughter in a true, positive, and beautiful way. He wanted to celebrate her life, because the sooner you do that, then the sooner you quiet and you put to rest all this negative ugliness.
Articles about the 1997 biopic detailing the life of Tejana music star Selena often note that her family refused many of the producers who approached them with ideas for a film. It was not until Mexican-American producer Montezuma Esparza proposed a partnership in which the family will have final approval of the script, cast, writer, and director that the family agreed. Around those times, Esparza was hoping to break with Hollywood's stereotypical representation of Latinos and depict the story of the Quintanilla family as the story of the American dream. The only other famous biopic centering a Latino was 1987's La Bamba, a film about Richie Valens, a Chicano singer and songwriter who tragically passed away at the beginning of his musical career, losing his life in a plane crash at the age of 17. If you haven't checked this movie, you should. Esparza's daughter, Tonantzin, had a lot of influence in the investment of the film. She was a fan and gave her dad Selena CDs to listen and documentaries to watch, emphasizing what Selena meant to young bicultural Latinas like herself. I kept telling him, look how much she influenced me. She was like a role model for me. Look at what she represents. Aldama mentions that Tonantzin's investment in the film was in making sure that Selena was remembered not just for her success as a singer, but as a Latina who inspired others through her own navigation of prejudice and sexism of the Tejano and North American music world. In an article for the Huffington Post, Marina Fang and Erin Evans write that the film is such an iconic part of the 90s pop culture It means a lot to so many people. It accelerated J-Lo's movie career and really cemented Almost's status as a legend. There are two hugely memorable performances and two very big pairs of shoes to fill. Adding that it's hard not to watch the show with the movie in mind. I suppose if you haven't seen the movie, the series might land better for you.
I love the movie. It's just hard to create your whole life and trying to, that interaction more so of the closeness that Abe, Selena, and I had as siblings.
Let's rewind a little though. Back when the 1997 film to play the little version of her. The Chicago Tribune reported that no casting call has drawn so large a crowd since filmmakers sought to fill the role of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind.
From day one, I wanted to give somebody a chance to be part of the movie.
And so we decided to make a search of 5 cities. We went to Los Angeles and Chicago, San Antonio, Miami, and I just covered New York quickly to see if there was anybody there. And the turnouts were quite amazing.
We were expecting a few hundred people to show up. I think we had 10,000 people in just Los Angeles.
And the characters that turned out were quite amazing as well.
5,000 in Chicago, and another 7,000 or 8,000 in San Antonio.
Salma Hayek was offered the role, but as she said to Andy Cohen in Watch What Happens Live,
"Are the rumors true that you were originally offered the role of Selena but turned it down?"
Yes, that is true. Yeah. Because they offered it to me like a week after she died.
Hayek told Mexican newspaper El Universal that she turned down the role for dignity purposes, saying she felt uncomfortable by how quickly she was asked to audition following the late singer's death.
Right. A little bit distinct. They were already planning on making this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever see it?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Great
and
movie.
I think Jennifer did a great job.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think it was for me.
Yeah.
While the film was received with okay reviews, Jennifer Lopez took a lot of praise, and so did James Olmos as Selena's father. As aforementioned, the film served as a vehicle to launch J-Lo into major success as an actress, musician, and entrepreneur. It even got her a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in the musical or comedy category. Lopez also became the highest paid Latina in Hollywood then, receiving $1 million to play the lead. The film is captivating mostly because of its central magnetizing performances in it. While there are a few inaccuracies for the sake of story flow, the film doesn't lose focus on its main character. On the other hand, it has come to everyone's attention, literally everyone, that a central figure to Selena's story is missing in the newly minted Netflix show that is Selena herself. Remezcla wrote, "But unlike the film, Selena's constant absence in the series makes her feel more like a side character than the lead in her own bioseries." Ariana Romero for Refinery 29 wrote that, down to its molecules, the series does not recognize the woman whose name is in the title as its star. Adding, Selena the movie never makes this mistake. In the beginning of the film, its version of Abe is the anchor of the story because Selena is only a kid. Still, Selena has a perspective. Little Selena playfully learns cumbia dance moves because she wants to understand a piece of her mother's past. It's these steps that will one day help make Selena a star. No one forces her into them. Then, as she becomes an adult, Lopez Selena isn't afraid to assert her personality.
That's just it, Dad. I'm not a little girl anymore.
Selena tells Abe in the first hour of the movie. She means it, taking the lead character mantle away from her dad and running away with it, as she should. In a subsequent scene, Selena proudly tries to use her beauty to find a passerby who will save the Quintanillas' broken tour bus. Later, she actively pursues eventual husband Chris Perez, grilling him on their tour bus and proclaiming her love for whole pizzas on dates. The characterization of Selena is somehow void in the series. There's nothing that seems to challenge her, nothing that helps her grow as a person. New York's magazine Vulture wrote, "It's too bad. It's infuriating, really. The Selena of the Netflix series, played by Christian Serratos, is childish and flighty, as interested in clothing and hair as she is in her music career. She is never mean, she makes no mistakes, and she has no inner conflict beyond her love of a sparkly bolero jacket and her sadness on the one occasion when she's not allowed to wear it. She's not even frustrated or mad, she's just resigned. Then later, she does wear the jacket and someone likes it. Phew! Whatever small problem there may have been, Selena swiftly and anxiously fixes before anyone has a chance to worry. All that adversity and strive for success, which also builds character, is a burden that Selena's father and brother seem to be carrying along throughout the series. Quote, "There's a little more attention paid to Selena's father, Abraham, and her brother, AB, whom the series pitches as the primary creative engines behind Selena's career. I don't begrudge Selena the focus on these clearly influential, powerful male family forces in Selena's life. It is odd, though, that the series has absolutely zero interest in probing deeper into the effects of having a brother and a father define a young woman's career. Let's be straight about something. Selena's story may have a few permutations and creative liberties, which both the series and the film take for the sake of the story's flow. Yet the film doesn't negate Selena's personality and feminist charisma the way the series does. I don't think Selena is a direct icon of feminism, but her story does have a nuanced feminist tone if one is allowed to explore it. After all, according to Aldama in Latinx Cine in the 21st century, quote, "The film works hard to negotiate a virgin/whore dichotomy by marking the overt sexuality of Selena's stage persona as a reflection of the commodification of the hot tamale Latina in the music industry, and by representing Selena as virginal and submissive to her father and husband in her private life. However, the film also presents Selena as a part of an all-American traditional patriarchal family structure, with both married parents and her father functioning as the dominating figure, alongside the film's positioning of Selena within her family and marriage, though it develops a distinct conceptualization of Latina feminism. In Selena, liberal feminist messaging is folded into a narrative of the Latinx American dream. At one point in the film, for example, Selena's father, Abraham Quintanilla, tells his daughter,
"You gotta be who you are."
But pointing to her heart, he emphasizes that who she is in part defined by being both American and Mexican. Selena, the film, suggests a conceptualization of empowerment grounded in being Mexican-American and embracing a borderland corazón, heart, wrote Aldama. Recent publications have also commented that the film does depict certain instances of woman empowerment, which they can be appreciated, such as when Suzette says,
No way! Girls don't play the drums!
Yes, they do!
No way, Dad! No way! Girls don't play the drums!
Let me show you real quick.
or the bustier scene, or when the fair show promoter pays less than expected, a $620 payout, and tells Abe that Tejano music is all men, women are not successful. What can I say?
She's just a woman. Tú sabes.
Yolanda Machado wrote about the series for Elle, commenting, "For Latinx women in particular, Selena was an example of what a strong woman who believed in herself could achieve. But that Selena is non-existent in Selena the series. Her voice muted and buried in order to preserve one of the most destructive elements in Latino culture, an unquestioning alliance and devotion to machismo." Despite the show being named for the late singer, her character is a supporting role at best. Not once do we see the passionate entrepreneur who launched her own boutique, salon, and clothing store independent of her father's overreaching hands. Nor do we see the woman who fell in love, defied her family, and stood her ground to marry Chris Perez, the love of her life. Episode after episode, the series sidelines its namesake in favor of Abraham Quintanilla knows best, and Brother AB writes the greatest song while being the greatest dad and husband. I won't say Selena the film is better than the series or that you should watch one over the other. I do want to say though that Selena is one of those few icons in the Latinx community that is looked at as a hero in the mainstream media. Just look around.
Selena, yeah, well, Selena.
Selena es un ángel, eso creo.
Amor prohibido. Amor prohibido nos
She was indeed one of the first few Latin women singers to achieve wide success across borders, doing it so in English and Spanish. Certainly family was important for her, and they are part of the backbone that got her to become a star. But in the first part of Selena the series, Selena herself is somehow chastised and made into this obedient, timid little girl that makes her, perhaps the idea of her, unrecognizable and uninspiring. Even though Selena's family has been linked to this recent Netflix project, the other side of the argument is that they were even more involved with the production of the 1997 film, with cast members living and spending time with the Quintanilla family. Chris Perez making an actual uncredited appearance, and the family approving the final script, which director Nava based on his personal interviews with Selena's family and husband. And let's not forget that one of the main reasons producer Montezuma Esparza was inspired to do the movie in the first place was his daughter, who looked up Selena for being a woman who was able to navigate prejudice and sexism in the Tejano and North American music world. That gave the heart to the movie. The difference, I would say, watching the 1997 version, what I call a classic, aside from the delightful performances, is that you'll be able to understand Selena's essence and get a better idea of who she was not. She was not sheltered, meek, or dull. We might see another side of Selena in Netflix Part 2 of the series, but for now, if you just want to understand more about her real-life strong character, do yourself a favor and watch La Película de Selena. Gracias, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. See you next time.